Sup YouTube, this is SSND Productions bringing you with another CTV game review. Sorry I haven't been around lately, been busy with school, but today we're going to be reviewing Sega Genesis. Known as the Mega Drive in every other country. Sega Genesis was probably Sega's best console, unless you count the Dreamcast, but this is probably their definitely best-selling console. 16-bit, very stylish console. This is the Model 1. There was a second model that came out which was basically smaller. This one is probably the better looking of the models, and you also get the headphone jack. Now this system came out in the late 80s, and when it first came out its main competitor was the NES. Now its original slogan, the old Genesis does what Nintendon't, was the original tagline, and on the early models, there was originally here, there was a little wording that would say high definition graphics, because technically back then the graphics were pretty revolutionary for the time. Now this console has many unique games for it. Eventually, for a while it was ahead of Nintendo in games. It actually was beating the Super Nintendo for a while. Eventually the Super Nintendo won, but this console did manage to have a long life. Front, you got your two controller ports there. Sorry if you can't see them. On the back, you've got your AC adapter, your AV cables, and your RF, and the channel 3, channel 4 switch. On the original models, there was another port here. I'm not really sure what that did. Now, with the AV cables, you only get mono sound, but there is a way to work around that. And that is through the stereo headphone jack on the front. You can get an adapter cable for that, and you plug it in there, and you'll use the video from the back and use the audio from the front, giving you basically very good sound. The cartridges go in here. It works pretty well. Pretty much essentially they just go in. You have to use a little force to get them in, but once they get in, they stay in perfectly. It's a little grip on the back of the cartridge to get them out, and they go in kind of simply like that. On-off switch, reset, pretty straightforward. Now on the side, there's a little compartment here that comes off the side here, and there's a little red thing here. You just take it off, and that's the expansion port for the system. That's where you plug in your Sega CD, which I do not have yet. One second. Bottom of the system, you get some information, helpline, which most likely doesn't work anymore, model number, serial number, some more help stuff. Pretty straightforward. Now there was another add-on that came out later on that would plug in to the cartridge slot. It was called the 32X. It did not last very long. It was poorly implemented. You needed 1,000 wires to hook it up, and it ran off its own power supply, similar to the Sega CD, which if you had them both, you would end up with 3. Also, the power supply is gigantic, very heavy, and I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to put these boxes on the end. Take up too much space, and because of that I can't plug in my Atari. Other than that, some of the classic games, obviously you've got Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, the Jurassic Park on the Genesis was great. There was also a lot of classic Sega titles like Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Shinobi. The fatalities in Mortal Kombat weren't censored on the Genesis version. Genesis pretty much lasted up until release of the Sega Saturn. By then Nintendo had beaten Sega out, and that was the beginning of Sega's downfall. This has been CTV Game Reviews. Thank you for viewing.